Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now another warning signal is flashing on the Bitcoin chart while the price of Bitcoin is now running into critical short-term support after seeing a perfect rejection from this level of resistance, while Ethereum is also exactly rejecting from this resistance, which I'll talk about later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, taking a look at the weekly Bitcoin chart, and I won't go too much into detail about this chart right here because I've done exactly that in previous videos here on the channel, but basically the price of Bitcoin is still struggling around that all-time high breakout level, which is at around 69 to 70,000. But this is not the first time this has happened. We've actually seen this in previous bull cycles. For example, looking at the last bull cycle in 2020 going into 2021, we saw pretty much exactly this happen back then. And so just because we see short-term bearish price action here and there, obviously that does not necessarily mean the bull market's over. Obviously, we can still be within a larger bullish trend, also known as a bull market, even seeing short-term bearish price action here and there and some struggle in the short term. Once again, that's very normal to see. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin chart, looking at the DXY, also known as the US dollar index, and this right here, by the way, is the Bitcoin price in the candlesticks. And what we're now actually seeing in the DXY is a further spike to the upside, which is technically a warning signal, a short-term bearish signal for Bitcoin, because usually when the DXY is bullish, that's often bearish for Bitcoin and crypto. And vice versa, if the DXY is bearish, that is usually bullish for Bitcoin and crypto. Now, obviously, it's not a 100% perfect accurate indicator, but more often than not, these two lines move in opposite directions. So once again, if the DXY is bullish, that's usually bearish for Bitcoin. And so on top of some other reasons, this could potentially be one of the factors that's resulting in a bit of short-term bearish price action for Bitcoin, basically the price struggling around that all-time high breakout, on top of the fact that this is just history repeating, and we usually see this type of price action before seeing a major breakout. But basically, if the DXY continues to be bullish like this, then we might not necessarily see a lot of bullish price action or a lot of bullish momentum in the Bitcoin price, at least in the short term. But then eventually when we see some sort of pullback again in the DXY, once again, that would be another bullish signal, potentially helping to push the price further to the upside. And so as always, I'll keep you up to date on what's happening here in the DXY and what it means for the Bitcoin price. So make sure you subscribe to this channel with notifications turned on so that you don't miss out on these important update videos. And if we're zooming into the short term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, right now we've seen yet another perfect rejection from this line of resistance, which, as I've been saying recently on the channel, we have resistance at around 71,500. And so over the last one day or so, we saw yet another perfect rejection, once again from that exact resistance where we've already been struggling at. So it was no surprise to see yet another rejection, another short-term struggle around that exact resistance. But with that being said, and as I've been saying over the last few days, since all the way back here, I'm actually very neutral in the short term because we have lost a lot of that short-term bullish momentum. But with that being said, we have not broken back below this area of support, at least not yet. And so in the meantime, while Bitcoin is still in between around 68,000, which is the lower area of this support, and 71,500, while we're in this sideways price range, we're just looking relatively neutral, basically in a choppy sideways price range. But believe it or not, you can make a lot of easy profits from choppy sideways price action just like this. And if you want to know how to do that, then stick around to the end of this video to find out more. But once again, right now we're looking relatively neutral in the short term, and now if we break below around 68,000, then in that case we could potentially see a drop down towards around 66,000 as the next short-term support. And on the other hand, if we finally see a breakout above around 71,500, then the next resistance to pay attention to is sitting in between 73,000 to 74,000. So those are the levels on the chart to pay attention to. And as for my personal trading strategy, right now I'm still in that Bitcoin long position that I entered all the way back down here at this breakout, which I shared here on the channel back then. And as I've also shared here on the channel, I've already secured some profits out of that long position right around this high right here. And the rest of the trade I'm just leaving open in case we end up seeing another move to the upside. But even in the worst case scenario, if we just dump to the downside, that will trigger my stop loss and exit me out of the trade automatically in profits because my stop loss is already sitting in profits. And if you want to take trades just like that, personally, I took that trade over on Bybit, so I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex down below this video, and if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can enter an exclusive Apple Watch Series 9 giveaway just by trading crypto on Bitflex. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well get set up ready to go on one of those exchanges using those links down below this video if you want to get those extra bonuses. And if we're taking a look at this 2-hour Bitcoin chart, we can clearly see over the last one day, once again, we did not confirm any breakouts above this resistance, which was sitting at around 71.3 to 71.4k. But like I said in recent videos here on the channel, we ideally needed a breakout above around 71,500. And so once again, we saw another perfect rejection from that short-term resistance. And instead we saw a break of this line of support, which was sitting at around 70.3k. And so technically, the moment we confirmed the break below this support, that activated a short-term bearish price target based on this pattern right here, which is sitting at around 66,500. And so from the point of the break to that price target, that was a potential 5% move to the downside. And so far, we've moved around 3% approximately to the downside from that breaking point, which means from the lowest point so far, we still have around a 2% move to the downside before we actually hit the price target. But once again, it is important to understand that between the current price and this price target, there's obviously that important area of support that we're still running into. And so once again, that is something to keep in mind. Obviously, we might not even go all the way towards that price target if we're still bouncing around that area of support. So ultimately, in order to head towards around that price target at around 66,500, we need to see a confirmed break below around 68,000. And so once again, that's why I've been saying just in the short term here, we're looking relatively neutral, basically in a sideways price range, trading in between support and resistance. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we can still see a lot of liquidity at around 72,000. And more specifically, this liquidity is sitting in between around 71.9k going up towards around 72.3k. And now we do have some downside liquidity at around 67.8k to 68,000. But with that being said, the downside liquidity is actually not as much as what we have to the upside. And so once again, as I've been saying recently on the channel, it's extremely likely that sometime soon, the price is likely going to go towards around 72,000 to take out that liquidity. But obviously in the short term, it's possible we can take a slight detour like we're doing right now. Obviously, once again, we still have that resistance to pay attention to at 71,500, which is why, once again, I've been saying in the short term, we're looking relatively neutral, but ultimately I do expect a move up towards 72,000 eventually, and that's likely going to happen sometime soon, as in potentially over this week. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the weekly time frame, right now the price of ETH is still clearly within a larger bullish trend on the larger time frames, also known as a bull market. And so just keep in mind, we can see some short-term bearish price action here and there, even during a bull market, just like how we can see some short-term bullish price action during a bear market. And right now we're running into critical support sitting in between around 3.4k to 3.5k. And as for resistance, we still have that level at around 4.1k, once again acting as resistance. And if we're zooming into the short term, looking at the 4-hour time frame right now and over the last one day, we've seen yet another perfect rejection from this exact level of resistance that I've been talking about for a while now on the channel. And once again, this level of resistance is still sitting at around 3650. And so clearly this has become an important level of resistance to break out above, because for now the price has been struggling a lot around that level. But ultimately, once we confirm a breakout above 3650, the next short-term resistance is sitting in between around 3750 to 3.8k, and above that the next resistance is sitting in between around 4000 to 4.1k. And also, now that we've seen another rejection once again from this resistance line, this technically now invalidates the formation phase for this cup and handle pattern, which obviously never actually confirmed anyway because we never confirmed a breakout above the neckline, above this resistance. And as for support levels to look out for, we have this area sitting in between 34.70 to 35.30, which right now the price could potentially be breaking below. And so if we actually see more of a rejection from that area, basically confirming it as new resistance, seeing some sort of rejection like that, then in that case, we could potentially see a move down towards around 3.3K. And so in order to avoid that move towards 3.3K, the price of ETH is going to have to quickly reclaim this area of support by seeing a quick breakout back above that level, kind of like what we saw just here with that fake out to the downside slightly below support. And so right now, this is a deciding moment for Ethereum, at least in the short term here. Once again, if we now find resistance in that previous area of support, then potentially expect to move down towards around 3.3K. But either way, like I said for Bitcoin earlier in the video, and as I've said recently on the channel, obviously right now we're lacking momentum in the short term. We're actually looking relatively neutral at the moment, essentially chopping around sideways, and Ethereum is looking slightly more bearish with lower lows compared to Bitcoin. And if we're taking a quick look at the price of Solana on the 2-hour time frame, obviously over the last one day, we saw an initial breakout to the upside with a few candle closes, and then we saw a quick break back to the downside below this previous area of resistance, which was sitting at around 198 to 199. And so as always, the moment we confirm a break back below the point of the breakout with a candle close back below that level, that invalidates the breakout to the upside and invalidates the bullish pattern and price target. And so once again, at this point on the chart right here, that invalidated this pattern right here and invalidated the bullish price target. And also over the last one day, we just recently confirmed a new bearish divergence on the 2-hour time frame, with higher highs confirmed in the price in the candle closes and lower highs confirmed in the 2-hour Solana RSI. And so as usual, a bearish divergence means we're most likely going to see either short-term bearish price action or neutral price action as the most likely outcomes in the short term. Basically, we're lacking bullish momentum, at least in the short term, due to this bearish divergence. But as of right now, we're potentially running into this line of support right here, which is sitting at around $188. And so just keep that in mind. Right now, we do have a little bit of short-term support around there. And as for resistance, I would now expect resistance once again at around 198 to 199 and more resistance at around $204. But either way, you can profit from all of this price action, whether it's bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways. And if you want to know how to do that, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.